Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We're going to cover this week's X-Men, Avengers, and Spider-Man related titles. That aren't tying into other larger stories. So on to the rest of this week's Marvel books, as well as this week's DC books. Starting with Symbiote Spider-Man, Kane Black, number 5. Where we left off, Spider-Man and his allies were on the space station Nowhere, the severed head of a Celestial floating in space, which has since had become quite the interstellar port of commerce. The group with him includes the Black Knight, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, both of the Avengers, Rocket Raccoon, a interstellar mercenary, totally not a member of any ragtag group of space heroes that didn't exist at this point in time, at the point in time in which the story takes place. Kang the Conqueror, longtime Avengers villain, as well as Thor foe Ulik, the rock troll, and his sister Ulisha. And the group has just been joined by none other than Uatu, the Watcher, who sent their initial enemy, Mr. E, to the showroom of the Collector. So the issue begins with Mr. E contacting Null telepathically, basically asking to be freed, or at least powered back to full, so he can escape and get the Ebony Blade for Null. On Nowhere, the Watcher is explaining what the plan while Spider-Man drinks mocktails. Mr. E attacks. A fight breaks out, and however, Mr. E is able to claim the Ebony Blade and states that he's going to destroy the galaxy, and, well, Spider-Man says that the group, this particular group should be considered the Guardians of the Galaxy. Though Monica points out that she's pretty sure that's another group. However, Rocket likes the name. But Mr. E is fully powered, which sadly means they most of the heroes can't even connect with him. They just pass through him. However, Spider-Man realizes that, sure, his webbing will pass through Mr. E, but it'll hit the Ebony Blade. But it'll stick to the Ebony Blade. The Watcher then tries to frighten Mr. E and actually uses some cosmic power to throw him off to the side. Rocket catches the sword, tries to stab Mr. E, but it doesn't do any good. However, Monica decides once again gets the blade, takes it from Mr. E, sticks it in him, and uses her own powers, channels her power through the blade, and destroys Mr. E. Then the Watcher tries to take Monica to the future with the Ebony Blade, but the Watchers are preventing him from leaving that point in the time stream, because that would constitute interference, and, well, yeah. As they head back to Earth, the Monica, with the Ebony Blade in hand, uses it to cut the shell off the sun, which makes Null rather mad in his sleep. And then the issue and series ends with Spider-Man and the Watcher talking on the roof of a building. The Watcher wiped the minds of Ned Leeds and Alistair Smythe, or wiped the memories of Ned Leeds and Alistair Smythe so that they don't remember what happened. Which then surprises Spidey that the Watcher can do that. And then the Watcher does it to him, and he asks why he was up here again. The Watcher's gone. And starts wondering what Felicia's up to before heading off. And it looks like the next Symbiote Spider-Man book will involve the Hulk. Which brings us to the non-flashback book, King in Black Ghost Rider. So some of you may recall last year and a couple of years ago, going into last year, there was a Ghost Rider title that I was covering, which ended rather abruptly last summer. This is kind of the closest thing we're getting to a conclusion on that. Where we left off, Blackheart had taken both Stacy Dolan, Danny Cage's ex-girlfriend, as well as what was her name? Emma, prisoner. Holding him as bait to lure in Danny, who is no longer the spirit of vengeance, but rather a spirit of corruption. Meanwhile, Johnny Blaze was continuing to go after the various escaped demons on Earth, with Mephisto chained up and in tow. So that's where things begin, is with Blaze riding around on his hell cycle, dragging a chained up Mephisto, when a symbiote dragon pops up. Blaze fights it, so tries to hit it with a penance stare, or damnation stare. Also, it turns out there are demons present watching, and they figure, hey, this is an excellent chance to free Mephisto. And then Danny shows up and seemingly cuts the head off the dragon. With him is the new caretaker, as well as Blackheart. But yeah, cutting the head off of the dragon with Danny cutting the head off the dragon with his sword doesn't really do much. And we get an explanation as to what's going on with basically Blackheart's got a plan to keep Lilith from getting on the throne. He's done something to the souls of Emma and Stacy to basically keep Danny, or to get Danny to help him. Also, Danny's taking the name Death Rider. But Mephisto, taking advantage of the fact that everyone else seems to be otherwise occupied, basically run for it. Some of the demons catch up to them. As they're about to basically, bow and start worshipping, the symbiotes catch them. And turns out, symbiotes can infect demons. So, our heroes and Blackheart take on the demons. Blaze hits one of them with a damnation stare, which manages to unpossess all of the symbiotes, or all the demons. And turns out Blackheart's whole plan is not taking the throne for himself, but rather putting Mephisto back on the throne. Blaze isn't too keen on this. Him and Mephisto, he tries to stop Mephisto from leaving, but Caretaker and Danny actually talk him into it. So, and Mephisto says, hey, I'll take a piece of, I'll take that symbiote with me. One less for you to worry about, as a show of good faith. And I'll put in the cauldron of infinite cosmic flame, an old gift from Dormammu. And so, Ghost Rider, Death Rider, and Carrier ride out to take on the symbiotes, and things can be better with Stacy and Emma. But Stacy suggests that Emma find another bar to work at. Getting close to Danny, dealing with stuff like this is when you're close to Danny Ketch is just the tip of the iceberg. Turns out that though that the reason it wasn't torturing the symbiote that Mephisto had in mind when he took the symbiote with him. Just have it handy for a rainy day. And then he sits back down on his throne and claims that it's good to be home. Though one does have to wonder. Moon Knight killed Mephisto. How come Mephisto's alive and well? Problem with comics, I know. I had issues with it 2 years ago during the Ghost Rider run because Mephisto was making appearances, still trapped in the Damnation Hotel, Avengers and some other titles, and then was being broken out by Johnny Blaze. So yeah, it is what it is. That's the end of the issue, though. Which brings us to our next book, Return of the Valkyries, number 4. Where we left off, the Valkyries were making a multi-pronged assault on Null and the Headless Celestial, whose head is nowhere. Literally, it is the head of the Headless Celestial is now what is known as nowhere. But the Valkyrie that's on Earth, however, Hildegard was being overtaken by Null's forces and couldn't chip in too well. Which makes things a little harder on Jane Foster and Danny Moonstar. In Valhalla, Brunhild is trying to rally the deceased Valkyries to help, and finally, Invenir, basically the Stitcher who made the reality thread and needle that or the thread that was being used to try and sever the connection between Null and the Headless Celestial, explains that assaulting the Headless Celestial is a fool's errand, but she is old and foolish and furious, and so she's all for a fight. Jane Foster has to defend herself against the Celestial, who has kind of being linked to All Black, the Necrosword, is able to make its own version of All Black, and yeah. Meanwhile, Danny Moonstar's holding the lawn, trying to sever the connection between All Black and the Celestial. The Forgotten Valkyrie arrives. However, during the battle, Jane gets sucked into the Headless Celestial. Meets with an old teacher, whom the Headless Celestial's spirit has taken the form of. Her late son. Now the rest of the Valkyries show up. The Sentry shows up for Jane. And finally, however, the Valkyries' plan works, and Null is cut off from the Headless Celestial. All the spirits that kept within the Celestial are freed and able to be taken to their resting places, and the Celestial is taken to where dead Celestials go. The Forgotten Valkyrie has a reunion with her lover. Jane takes the Sentry to his resting place to Valhalla, but they also decide. It's also decided that the other Valkyries take Sentry to Valhalla. Jane, the Forgotten Valkyrie, and Danny Moonstar, however, head back to Earth to join in the fight against Null. And that is where the issue and the miniseries ends. I think King in Black #5 is actually scheduled for next week, so, huzzah. Next up, we've got the Union, #4. Where we left off, we got some information on the past of the Choir, including that she has some involvement with a notorious British criminal known as Doc Croc. Also, someone involved is Selwyn James, a government minister with special responsibility for superheroes, and a superhuman himself capable of stealing powers. Called himself the Sponge back in the day. So we begin with a flashback to 30 years ago. Britannia fighting the Sponge, and the Sponge very nearly killing her. Obviously, she changed her mind. But the team is about to be unveiled by Steve Darwin, but the broadcast by Darwin is interrupted by Doc Croc. And yeah, he's doing the villain bit. In the tower, the Union are gathered and they're trying to, and they're working on a plan. Selwyn's trying to get a hold of the Prime Minister, but basically one of the Prime Minister's assistants informs him that whatever Selwyn plans to do, the Prime Minister is going to back him 100%. But they got a crack team of commandos outside, and a Corgi pops up and, well, stops them. In part because Doc Croc and his people, Volcana, Lady Shimmering Lights, and Scream, the Choir, are all there. So, Union Jack's got a plan, which gets put into play. Lady Shimmering Lights, however, takes down Kelpie. Snakes is taken down by Doc Croc and some solid bands of light. As the Choir passes by Snakes, she apologizes. An anti-grav device is placed on Bulldog to get him out of their way. Meanwhile, inside the keep, Union Jack is betrayed by Darwin. When the villains make it to the keep, the last Beefeater tries to stop them, and eventually just gets knocked out by Volcana. Then the Choir helps them get in, finding an unconscious Union Jack, and it's explained that part of how it is that the one little country just off the coast of Europe managed to dominate the world, something known as the Empire Stone, which gives the holder complete and total power. Nothing can defeat them. And it's hidden in the tower, behind a picture of John Dee, mathematician, astrologer, and personal dark wizard to Queen Elizabeth I. So, Croc sticks his hand in the chamber it's supposed to be held in, but there's nothing there. Because that's why Darwin betrayed Union Jack, was taking it for himself. And apparently Darwin's a big fan of Doc Croc, but he introduces himself, Steve Darwin, but you can call me Emperor. And that is where the issue ends. And now on to the distinguished competition. Starting with Batman Catwoman, #4. Where things left off, in the past, Joker told Catwoman of a bomb he left in an ice rink. The present, Phantasm had kidnapped Catwoman. And in the future, Huntress was investigating the apparent murder of the Joker. We begin at the ice rink, showing that there is a bomb underneath it. And we get a brief bit with a giant version of Phantasm walking through a rendition of the city, welcoming others to the future. In the future, Huntress is shaking down former Bat villains, asking about any past connection between Joker and Catwoman. Back in the present, or back in the past, Catwoman tells Batman about the bomb at the ice rink. And then in the present, she wakes up after having been apparently taken prisoner by Phantasm. And we get more and more of in the future. We get more and more of Huntress asking various bad villains about Joker and Catwoman. There always did seem to be some, and they all seem to agree. There did seem to be something between the two. Batman managed to get to the ice rink, get the bomb out. Phantasm is pissed that, Catwoman and Batman are seemingly protecting Joker. In the future, Selina also starts asking asks the Penguin what Penguin told Huntress, her daughter, sticking a cat on Oswald's pet penguin before attacking while attacking Oswald herself. And it's kind of very heavily hinted that as Selina's pet cat killed the Penguin's penguin, that's more than likely what Catwoman did to Penguin as well. In the past, Batman confronts Catwoman about the bomb. She asks what he wants from her, and kind of turns things on him. Before leaving, Batman standing on the top of a building, probably feeling a bit like crap. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final book of the week, Strange Adventures, number 9. Where we left off, the Pict invasion of Earth was beginning, while the investigation into Adam Strange was ongoing. And it did seem that maybe the death of Aaliyah Strange, Adam Strange's daughter, wasn't as clear-cut as everyone thought it was. So, a report has been... Justice League's report about Adam Strange has been released. The biggest thing is his membership within the league is terminated, barred from membership, so on and so forth. They're still and they claim they're investigating the death of the guy from the bookstore earlier on. We also get some scenes of some of the final attacks in the Rand Pict War, which was chemical warfare. In the present, Adam confronts Batman a bit, and while they're arguing, Batman gets shot by one of the Picts. However, Adam does the right thing and gets Batman back to the Hall of Justice so he can be saved by doctors. Alana Strange is interviewed on cable news while Mr. Terrific watches, getting madder and madder at the at what Alana's saying. Also, the chemical warfare used on Rand all those years ago basically caused the Picts to run out of a base, and then the Helotots, or the Rock Queen, then opened up a hole underneath the gathered army, and so it's presumed that the Rock Queen and her people slaughtered the Picts. Though it's distinctly possible that Adam Strange flew in and took care of some of them himself. Some news pundits are actually just like, okay, fine, so the Justice League doesn't like Adam Strange. He seems okay in our book, actually. But Mr. Terrific writes a letter to Alana Strange. And back in the present, the war continues on Earth. Adam and Superman work together. With Adam further, honestly pissed at Superman because he did ask Superman to help him, and Superman turned him down. Adam and Alana in the past make recollections about their daughter. And then the issue ends with Adam in the past telling his wife that they'll see their daughter again. There is, after all, another world. And that is where the issue ends. And that's it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.